Welcome back to r/NeighborsFromH, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors, and if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled Getting Back at the HOA with Pink Flamingos. Would you have ever thought that pink flamingos can make one's blood boil? Me neither, but maybe we are just not familiar enough with HOA busybodies. First, a little background, so all this makes more sense to you. This HOA was not as bad as the others you hear about on Reddit, but the Christmas display revenge was motivated in part by the desire to get revenge for all the crazy policies invented by the HOA busybodies. Both my friend and I live in the same township and technically the same neighborhood, although his development is much newer than mine and has an HOA. You could say that my friend was not as lucky as me, since we all know that HOAs can be a great nuisance. The neighborhood borders a county park and as a result has lots of wild animals, including everyone's favorite trash bandit, the raccoon. The township has an ordinance that trash cans can go out 24 hours before pickup and bags can only go out an hour before pickup. Pickup time is 5 AM. The HOA's policy ran afoul of the ordinance in that they allowed all trash out at the 24-hour mark. People in the development were getting fined and no one could figure out why until I told my friend about the ordinance, and everyone learned it was not the HOA fining them, it was the township. Most did not want to buy the required trash can, so they had been using bags and getting fined as a result. They would also get fined if the trash was late for pickup, again because of the raccoons. Everyone in that neighborhood broke down and got trash cans. Our township is overseen by a board of trustees and provides police and fire protection. Other townships in my county contract with the sheriff for protection. The county does not provide trash service, it is contracted out. Now on to the story. My friend lives in a homeowners association and they have a very strict rule on lawn ornaments and decorating. They have banned pink flamingos on their own, this is important later, and for Christmas they require the house to have a theme. My friend was looking for a way to screw with them and I found it for him in the Bahamas. The theme he chose was Christmas in Paradise. He sold it to the association by saying it would be bright colors to offset the dreary winter we were having. They enthusiastically approved it, they had no idea. He found some plastic palm trees, borrowed 9 of my friend's pink flamingos and built a sled for Santa. The flamingos had reindeer antlers and the one in front had a red nose stuck on. The reins for his flamingos were lights, not bells. He also had lights on the house and fake palms and a sign that said Christmas in Paradise. The HOA could not do anything because I had found a painting in the Bahamas that inspired the whole setup and bought it for the friend with the flamingo collection, and it fit in with his theme. The HOA enforcement officer was pissed when he realized he couldn't do anything because 1. My friend was able to show him the picture I purchased for our flamingo collector friend, and number 2, the rules said you could add anything that was plausible with your theme. Christmas in Paradise equals pink flamingos. And Ripe Stars, I'm curious, are you a big fan of Christmas decorations? I know some people in my hometown that just spend crazy amounts of money for Christmas decorations outside their house, essentially making their house shine bright like a Christmas tree. I gotta say, personally, I really enjoy that kind of Christmas decoration, and that is certainly one of the things I would miss here in Asia. The next one is titled Awful Aromas from My Drug Dealer Neighbor's Apartment Got Out of Hand. I made things worse to make things better. Last summer was a hot one. My standing AC window unit was not cutting it, so my only method of cooling the apartment was to open the windows. Well, Stinky Mike's apartment is directly across from mine with a narrow driveway in between. And he keeps his windows open 24/7 so his customers can alert him of their presence no matter the time of day. I really don't care what he does as long as it does not affect me, but his open windows means the cigarette and body odor and the meth stench seeps into the air of the driveway. The only windows I can open face the driveway. 10 minutes of my windows open bring that stench in for hours on end. I have spoken to Stinky Mike about this and nothing comes of it. Property management won't do anything no matter what he does. I have many stories. So what do I do when all cordial communication fails? I figure I cannot open my windows anyway, so I do the only logical thing and throw a stink bomb through his window when he wasn't home. A mixture of the most foul rotten egg and fermented concentrated sewage permeated the air. It was horrid, instant gag inducing. I was still home when he got back and heard him loudly exclaiming, "What the F is that?" in between retches. I almost felt bad. Just kidding, I would do this again if it comes to it. The next day I found him cleaning out his apartment frantically. It was probably the first time he has ever cleaned that place in the decade he claims to have lived there. I felt accomplished and I'm not afraid to admit that. In my entire life I always fought the fair fight and never got very far. I played dirty and got near instant results. While his apartment still has that same stench, it is far from the aromatic drug den it was before. Maybe I took things a bit too far. Maybe this revenge tactic could be considered chemical warfare. Maybe I'm a genius. All I know is, this summer I was able to have my windows open and enjoy the great indoors at a comfortable temperature. And Ripe Stars, I'm curious, have you ever lived close to people who were selling or even creating drugs in their own apartment? If so, what have you done? Have you called the police on them? Let us know in the comments. And while you're at it, I would really be happy if you could like the video and post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support my channel. Thank you so much in advance. Recently you have done an absolutely outrageous job and we have reached 1000 likes on almost every single video. Thank you so much for your awesome support. The next one is titled, "Neighbors want us to be inconvenienced so that they can park their car in front of our house." For context, my house is on a busy main road with a lot of traffic throughout the day. There is a local bus stop literally opposite our gate and buses run every 10 to 15 minutes. All in all, traffic is always very high. The way that our plot is built, there is a strip running along our wall adjoining the road that technically comes within our property lines. Due to construction regulations or something, there is nothing on that patch. It runs along the length of our compound wall and the road. Just beside our house is a small lane, the width of one small car and a bike. There are about 5 to 6 houses in that lane, with only one of them owning a car. It is my aunt and she rarely takes her car out. It is parked inside her house compound 90% of the time. There is an electric pole right at the entrance of the street. It's a huge headache for anyone to come into or drive into the street because of that. On occasions that my aunt needs to use her car for a few days in a row, she prefers to park just outside my house. No problem, we have an arrangement and anytime there is an inconvenience due to traffic, my uncle, aunt's husband, me or someone can move the car. Trouble started about a couple of months ago. One of our neighbors has a house at the very end of the street. Their compound doesn't have enough space for a car. A relative of theirs has been staying with them. They own a small hatchback which they started parking outside our house. At nights it's not an issue, but my father and uncle both often need to travel for work. Often need to leave early in the morning also. We have 2 cars, one a large SUV and the other is a bit smaller but still sizable. Due to heavy main road traffic, it is nearly damn impossible to maneuver the cars out if there is a vehicle parked outside our house. You can see where this is going. My father and uncle and me have asked them multiple times not to park there or to move their car in the morning so that we may go about our business. They listen for a couple of days and voila, a few days later the car is again parked outside our house. We ended up having a huge argument with them and now they have started to park their car in the small street. It has begun to hamper the people living in the street as the vehicle completely jams the street. Anyone coming in or out of the street has a lot of trouble. A couple of days ago they scratched the side of their car against an electric pole while backing it out of the street. They again parked it outside. Today morning my father had to wait for half an hour to get his car out. Not a very patient man in the best of situations, he blasted off at our neighbor. They in turn blame us for the scratch and are demanding that we pay for the damages as we don't allow them to park outside and hence indirectly caused the damage to the car. My father was left speechless at their audacity and pretty much told them to F off. Those guys are a real nuisance for sure. And the next one is titled, "Adjacent lot to my property is occupied by a drug addict squatter and her property taxes are past due. What can I do?" I know it sounds dramatic, but we literally have a meth addict living in a dilapidated trailer adjacent to our beautiful 1-acre property and I want to buy her out. The previous owner was an upstanding citizen who fell ill and died shortly after we moved in, and he left the property to his live-in girlfriend. Within a year, the girlfriend died under suspicious circumstances and her drug-addicted daughter moved in immediately after. We were ignorant to this entire sequence of events until some neighbors filled us in. I dismissed it as gossip, but public record searches and a chance encounter with a close friend of the original owner confirmed this. Then last year we overheard a domestic dispute, one of many, in which the man accused the woman of murdering her mother for money. We called the police to prevent the shouting match from escalating, but they of course did not/could not do anything about the murder accusation. And then just this week they were screaming at each other again and he made the same accusation. I am fed up. This damn property, which hasn't had power for a year, is going to make it impossible to sell my home and it is dragging down the value of the whole street. The weekly shouting matches and the constant worry of a drug-fueled break-in have driven me to the point that I am considering making an unsolicited offer on the property. Here is what I know. The trailer is on a 1-acre lot that has an appraised value of around $47,000. The property is still in the original owner's name, even though he died in 2016. An absolute pittance in property tax, like $47, was paid in 2016, but 2017 has not yet been paid. Aside from purchasing my first home back in 2015, I know next to nothing about real estate and the legal intricacies therein. But what I would like to do is hire a real estate agent and make this lady, or whoever the hell actually holds the deed, a cash offer on the property based on the assumption that a drug head wouldn't be able to turn down $40,000 in cash. Then I will clear the land, bulldoze the trailer and sell it to a developer. Woo, thanks for reading. So how dumb is my plan? Is the end goal even possible? Any advice at all would be appreciated. And a user in the comments wrote, "So if you end up getting as far as actually making an offer, major lowball it, like really low, $5,000 to $10,000 low. If they are legit drug addicts, that is still a lot of money to go elsewhere." And another user agreed. The other advantage is that if this woman is super antagonistic, she might see the offer as an opportunity to squeeze you for more money. So if you start out super low, around $5,000 to $10,000, and let her chip away at you up to $20,000, then you are still getting the property at half the value. I would call the cops a couple times to soften them up and then drop the lowball once they are looking for solutions to their new cop problem. And another person said, "It is a violation of the International Property Maintenance Code, which is adopted by many jurisdictions." Edit, also yes, call your city or county code enforcement agency and the tax assessor. They are a good route to help. If you do a private deal, make sure you put the money in escrow and it goes to them after they vacate. And another user said, "I did a very similar thing here in Colorado. I had a drug house next to one of my rentals and my tenants moved out for this reason. I was not happy about that, so I made a personal visit and talked with code enforcement people that the drug house had no power, were stealing water from my tenants, had lots of police calls, trash in the yard, blah blah blah." Within 2 weeks they were at the property with a warrant and 5 officials cleaning up the outside of the property and sent the bill to the owner. The druggies moved out and the owner, a landlord, cleaned up the place. I took a big tray of Costco cookies and a flowery thank you letter to the code enforcement team, and they couldn't believe it, no one had ever thanked them before. They are now helping to clean up the rest of the neighborhood without being asked. This couldn't have worked out any better in my case. And another user said, if they are really cooking this drug on the property, you definitely don't want to deal with the massive cleanup that will be necessary. I don't know details, but I do know it can be extremely expensive and too hazardous to do it yourself. I also have no idea how you would go about ascertaining whether the current occupants are cooking or just using, but I haven't seen any other commenters chime in about this possibility, so I want to give you this heads up. And by the way guys, is anyone else here a huge fan of the series Breaking Bad? Let me know in the comments. And by the way, speaking about good TV shows, a few months ago I've heard that Dexter will continue very soon, but actually since then I haven't heard any other news. But to be honest with you guys, Dexter is one of my absolute favorite TV shows of all time. And by the way, if you have watched until here and enjoy my YouTube show, then I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel and post some star emojis in the comments to show your support. Thank you so much in advance. Update to the drug addict's story. My original post on this subject is now nearly 3 years in the making, but the property just sold at auction last week, so I thought I would share what I learned. The short version is we had some very trashy and disruptive neighbors squatting on the property next to our home, and we discovered their property taxes had not been paid since the original owner died in 2016. So after a few months of research, a 4-hour online class on tax deed auctions and a $200 title search, we learned that the rights to the property could be purchased in an online auction run by the county tax office. You have to have your max bid in liquid cash ready to go if you win the auction, but there are certainly some bargains to be had. Anyway, after watching the auction calendar for over a year, the property finally appeared on the schedule and the auction took place last week. The property had an appraised value of around $45,000 and the bidding starts at the simply whatever is past due on the taxes, which is less than $3,000 in this place. The auction is run by a third-party company in partnership with every FL county, and it works almost exactly like eBay. Unfortunately, we are small timers and our max bid of $10,000 was immediately squashed. This $45,000 property ended up selling for $25,000 and the new owners showed up that very same day to start clearing the way for new development. So despite the anticlimactic finish, we learned a ton about tax auctions and will be fishing for more in the future once we have a bit more liquid cash to play with. Sorry for a long post, but I got a ton of requests for an update and I figured this might be of use to at least one other person out there. Thanks for reading. And ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support and I hope to see you again tomorrow.